Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
Hello there. So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone show. We are so glad that you are joining us here live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. It's pretty exciting stuff. I am your co-host, Mr. Stephen Boster, along with my illustrious one and only Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom Land.
It is so good for you to join us, everybody, because today is a special day because we have our friend, Mr. John Keller, here with us today to talk about Cobra Kai.
Awesome.
All right, everybody, we're going to bring Mr. John in. We'll talk briefly a little bit more about this. So here we go. We're bringing him in from the bad place. No, I'm just kidding.
From the bad place.
We have this waiting room. My brain went to waiting room and then went to purgatory, and I don't know what happened after that. Sorry, John.
San Antonio does seem like purgatory sometimes.
Yeah, try coming to Illinois.
Oh my goodness! Except for all this snowstorm stuff we got going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
hey, John, welcome to the show. It is great to have you with us today.
Good morning,
Thank you
John.
for having me. Appreciate it. Good morning.
Yeah. So here's the dealio. So everybody, we are discussing Cobra Kai. Now, we're not doing a specific review, even though it is kind of part of what we're doing, but we're really delving into some of the themes out of the show because John, connected with us, and we've had John before, and he shot us an interesting email about some of his thoughts about it.
I don't think we've had John on the show, have we?
Have we not had John on the show before?
I don't think so. I think we've had Andrew Staples, but I don't think we've had John. John, have we had you on the show?
Have you on?
No, I think this is my debut. This will be my debut.
Oh, welcome. Why do I think? Oh, because we spent some time with you talking about stuff. That's right. Yeah. So, and maybe that's why I just can automatically, because I had such a great time doing that before. I think that would just automatically thought, oh, we were doing it for the podcast.
Yeah.
So, so if you could see my ears, but you can't because I got my headphones on, and plus they're probably all red now because I was like, oops.
That's okay. That's right.
Right. Okay. So John, we've been connected with John before and shot us an email about some really interesting thoughts about Cobra Kai season 4. And I loved it. Mike and I loved it. And we wanted to have this discussion with John about it. So, so that's what we're doing here today. And I'm pretty pumped about it because Cobra Kai this season was really good.
Well, I think all 4 seasons. We're up to 4 now, right? I believe it's 4. I think all 4 seasons of the show is fantastic. I don't think there's really a bad episode in any of the 4 seasons, and I love how this show has taken a 80s. It was an 80s hit. It was a huge movie back in the 80s, and just made it relevant for today. I love the characters in it. I think they've done a great job. Star Wars really could have taken some notes from this series, honestly.
Are you talking about the sequel trilogy Star Wars?
Yeah, I'm talking the sequel trilogy. The Star Wars television series is going pretty darn good right now, but the sequel trilogy could have taken a lot of notes from this, just like I said about Ghostbusters, because you've got the next generation of Karate Kid taking center stage, but you have the original crew still playing a huge dominant role in this film, and that's what are in this TV series. And I wanted to see that in the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, and we didn't get it. So
Okay. My favorite thing about the Cobra Kai series as a whole is there is no clear delineation. Ooh, big $5 word there. Of good and bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I love how you've got your good guys and then you got who you perceive to be the bad guy, Johnny Lawrence character, and how we begin to see things from his perspective and how we're playing out perspectives. It's almost like, what did Obi-Wan say in Empire Strikes Back? What was it that he said? Uh, your father was, but you said my father was dead. He says, well, he was from a certain point of view, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I love that. I don't want to say blurring good and bad. I think, but I do want to say it is done a great job of perspectives where good people do jerk things and jerks do good things and bad things. Good people do jerk. I mean, that's what I really enjoyed about this series. And I really thought this fourth season really, not saying it wasn't in each season, but this one particularly was really interesting with that. John, what were your thoughts?
No, those are great thoughts. I can agree with that a lot. I like what you said, how there's no real blurring between good and evil. The show has a good developed sense of what is morally right, but it shows that the characters are deeply flawed, and their adherence to that standard is always coming up short, or they're getting there, and sometimes they're victims of circumstances that is beyond their control completely. That seem to be that it's almost that there are that it's like the narrative itself is going to drag them along almost within the show, and regardless of their intentions, regardless of what they're trying to do, it's just, and we'll get into that a lot more later, but it's just this idea that that can happen to us in life as well. The idea that we're going to be able to make these choices, but we also have to react all the time as well. And I like that in the show, that it's not, the writers aren't just simply setting up certain situations and making sure the situations happen. Sometimes things just happen that interrupt the situation, and the narrative goes in a completely different direction than I thought would happen.
Yeah. No, those are good insights. Yes. I guess it goes to show that Cobra Kai is not just like a popcorn munching film, but there is some incredible depth to the storytelling.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I love how in season one is a lot of, Johnny versus Daniel. And you see how Johnny's character is, he's got a lot more depth to him than he did in the films. In the films, he was pretty much just the bad guy.
Well, you thought he was just the bad guy. Yeah.
Right. And in this, we see that there's a different perspective there, because Johnny doesn't see himself as the bad guy. He sees himself as the good guy. He sees Daniel as the bad guy, and we see aspects of Daniel where he can be a total jerk. He's not the friendly kid we remember from the film. There's times when, and the funny thing is, Daniel's intentions are always good. His intentions are good, but he doesn't always, it doesn't always happen the way he intends it to, and vice versa. I think Johnny has those same aspects about him, where Johnny always intends to do good, and sometimes some of his acts backfire on him. So, and that's the way I see season one. Now we start to get a lot more in depth as we go on through the seasons, because then they start introducing more of the bad guys and stuff that we saw in the films. And I love that, because I didn't watch all the films. I'll be honest. I really only remember watching one. So a lot of the bad guys I didn't know back then, and now I'm getting to know them, and I love them. I think they're fantastic for the show.
Yes.
And even they are in layers, like for instance, gosh, I can't think of the main bad guy. What is his name?
Kreese. John Kreese.
Yeah, Kreese. John Kreese. Even Kreese you know, he has layers to him. I think he's the bad guy, but even there's times where some of the other bad guys go further than him, you know, and even he questions some of their antics at times. So yeah, I find this really interesting. It's a very good show.
Yeah, I think one of the things in watching Cobra Kai, and I've gone back with my son and watched the original trilogy, Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3, is I they took some source material that was great and wonderful, but also quite cheesy in many ways, and they just improved it so much that watching those movies again, while knowing what happens, a generation, 2 generations later, is mind blowing to see that they've taken the originals, they've improved upon it. The villains are villainous, but they're villainous in different ways. The We've got some purpose, we've got some reasons behind why Kreese acts the way he does. We can see these kinds of things much more so, rather than just getting little glimpse of dialogue here or there.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
I think, with Kreese, seeing that backstory with him, being a POW and, traumatic situations with people can really change perspectives or how they view the world. I know from a religious nature, I know, in being a pastor or having been a pastor for a long time, trying to help people, through certain situations, it's fascinating to see how life events can really affect people and how they view the world and how they live out a specific, for lack of a better term, moral code. And and I think you're right, John. I think that the whole aspect of seeing that aspect of John Kreese's backstory helps you see his, how shall we say, his um his dogmatism to being a fighter. You know what I mean? Hanging in there, at all costs and stuff like that.
Yeah, his need for strength is it permeates his life. And when we see his own personal situation, what is it in season 2, I believe, when Kreese is Johnny's following him around. What are you doing? Where are you at? And he's living in a homeless shelter. You start to see that, and then you hear that, and then you see some more of the flashbacks to Vietnam in the background, and you're really going, oh my gosh. It's almost like he has to have this kind of strength with karate because he has no control over any other aspect of his life. And he thinks that by having this kind of control is giving him some kind of purpose.
Oh, that's a great way of putting that. I totally agree with that.
Right. I didn't think of it that way. I just thought, oh, dude, this guy's messed up.
Yeah, definitely though. Definitely.
But no, I get what you're saying. He has this need. He has this need to be a winner, and because I think in the back of his mind, he's always in Vietnam. So yeah, that's an interesting way to look at this.
Yeah. So, all right. So everybody, if you're just joining us, we are with our guest and our friend, Mr. John Keller, and we are discussing Cobra Kai season 4. We're just kind of doing a little overview about Cobra Kai right now. And we're going to start delving into some of the, well, we already are some of the big themes within Cobra Kai. But especially we're going to talk about some of the things that happen in season 4. So we're not doing a play-by-play. We're not doing a walkthrough of Cobra Kai season 4. We're just talking about the things.
We're too deep into Cobra Kai to do a walkthrough, unless,
right.
Yeah.
Now let's do this. Let's do our overall. We always like to give a rating, an overall rating to season 4. Or we like to do an overall rating. Say why we think that, and then kind of your things. We forgot to do that at the beginning. So, Mike, what do you think? Out of 5, what should we do our ratings?
Let's see what was prevalent in this season. Man, that's hard to choose for Cobra Kai. I mean, it's too easy to go to the crane kick. That's just
Well, yeah, that's
too
true.
easy. Too on the nose.
I give it 4.5 out of 5.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Here we go. Somebody chimed in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Zig. Hey, Zig.
Eagle Fang. There we go. Love it.
Eagle
Awesome.
Fang.
Yeah.
Love
Thank you,
it.
Zig. Yeah, so I'll give it 4 out of 5 Eagle Fangs. That's great.
Okay. All right. 4.5 out of 5 Eagle Fangs. Love it.
Zig with the save there.
Right on. John, what about you? What if you just give it a rating? What would you give it?
I'd say something similar, about 4.5 Eagle Fangs out of 5. The show has just it took everything that it's been doing for a few years, and it just kind of it propelled us forward. It's almost like a transitionary season. Obviously, the show's going to be going into bigger places, and it's just and we can get into the larger phenomenon of it too later on. But it's just its impact that it's having on the popular culture at large does definitely give it that 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, when we got season 1, I never thought we would get 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I love season 1. I absolutely adored it. And we got second season and it was good. And I was like, oh, this is good. Then we got, at the end of the second season, I was like, well, we got to find out what's going to go on. And so I guess we'll get a third one. But I thinking of this as a transitional season, John, I think you're right, because it did propel things forward.
Mm-hmm.
It sure did.
I wonder if we will eventually move into where the kids are a bigger focus to the show, and then they draw less upon Johnny and Daniel and Kreese, if they become more background characters eventually.
Right.
I'm wondering if that's where they're heading with this. Because that's what I would have liked to have seen in Star Wars sequels, where we have the main characters come in and be the main focus, and they hand everything off to the next generation. And it didn't feel like that in the sequels. But this, to me, it feels a lot like that's where they're heading with this. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, Miguel lives in my head, and his choices and what he's doing and where he's going. He could be one of 10,000 students that I teach myself, and it's just nice. Seeing where he's going and how he's growing and how he's navigating the world is fascinating, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, I love his character. His character is fantastic.
And his miraculous healing from getting his back broken.
Hey, now that can happen. Bruce Lee. It happened to Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee actually broke his back, and he healed from it, and he's still a world-class martial artist afterwards. So that is believable, actually.
All right.
Hey, if you wanted a real-world example, there you go, dude.
Yeah, that was quick. Nicely done, Mike. I have to give that to you.
Right off the top of my head, too.
Yep. So one of my favorite things was the introduction of a new character, or bringing back an old character, and this was from Karate Kid 3. What did you guys think about the bringing back of oh my gosh, Penguin moment,
Terry Silver?
Well, like I said, I really only remember watching the first film, so I had no idea who this character was. But I'm getting a sense that he is one bad dude.
So in since you didn't know anything about the character, what were your thoughts about him within the show? You're like, oh, here comes this guy who's got his hair back in a ponytail, and what nothing about him. What was your impression then?
Well, at first, he comes off very timid and meek.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know what to think about him. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, if John wants him so badly, if Kreese wants him so badly, this dude has got to be a badass. that was my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he played that out very good.
Yeah.
He did. By the time we got to the end of it, that last episode, I was just like,
oh yeah,
holy moly.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and how there's that transition that occurred. Excuse me. And I thought played well in season 3. Excuse me, in the third movie, he kind of plays the secret. Hey, I'm going to be a friend to. I'm going to be a friend to Daniel LaRusso, and I'm going to help him out. But really, secretly, he was really working along with Kreese. And I loved how we got the bond in season 4. We got this bond. What was their bond? How was it created? Kind of a thing. And I enjoyed that. John, what did you think about Silver in this?
Well, seeing Silver again was, especially after having rewatched it and seen the third one, and kind of reminded myself of who he was originally. And like you said, this kind of snake in the grass that's trying to be like a good guy to Danny and stuff, but secretly working with Kreese, of course. I'm wondering, as time has passed for him, that he has, he has kind of completely put hit Vietnam and karate and those kinds of things behind him when we first are reintroduced to him. He's living a completely different lifestyle. He's of course ensconced in wealth and living that kind of lifestyle. And he's trying to, it's almost as if he's trying to be the exact opposite of a fighter. He's trying to be the exact opposite of a person who would do anything to get the results he wanted. And he was trying to live life a completely different way. And Kreese comes back into his life, and of course he's going to resist for a little while before he ends up accepting his proposals. But once he does accept those proposals, he goes full blown Terry Silver again, and he's very manipulative. He's very harsh. He's if you think Kreese is harsh, man, especially like we said, by the time you see the end of season 4 and what's happening there, you're, oh my gosh, he is stopping at nothing to get what he wants.
He is cold and calculated. It was almost like he was trying to keep this repressed nature, or he's got this dark nature. He's trying to keep it repressed, and then Kreese just kind of opened the door for that, and like, okay.
Well, and I think calculator is a perfect word for him, because you see him. There are times where he wants to, in the teaching, he wants to jump in front of John Kreese, and then he steps back because he's like, no, listen to Sensei Kreese, but you can tell he's plotting in his head as that's all going on. He's plotting his next moves. I mean, he's like a chess player. He's got to be, what they say in chess, you have to be 5 moves ahead of your opponent or something like that.
Right.
And I think he's like a chess player where he's constantly thinking, okay, this is what he's going to do, but I'm going to do this, this, and this. He's an interesting bad guy. I like him. I like
Zig
him as a bad guy.
yeah.
You like him as what?
As a bad guy. I have to clarify.
Oh, as a bad guy. Sorry. Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, my wife, she was like, I hate this guy. I hate him. I know. Yeah, you hate him. And that just shows he's doing a great job, because you're supposed to hate him.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Zig says that he was here, I'll pop it up. He says he was coked out in Karate Kid 3, and he admitted it in season 3 or 4. That's right. He did it.
That's true.
He did admit that.
Yep.
I forgot about that and stuff. Let's see here.
He's plotting his.
So I would say, with his character, I think it brings up, and this is, I'm transitioning to the major theme of what's bringing us here today, is this whole concept of bullying was huge in this episode, and that relationship within Kreese and Silver, there seemed to be a how shall I say, there seemed to be a sense of that transition of Silver into kind of a bully kind of character by the time we got to the end. You're right, Mike. I think he started off timid, and then by the end, he became the bully. But yet we see other bully stories happening within this season. It was almost like for me, it was a major theme. And John, when you brought that up and talked with us about it, I was like, yeah, I think you're right on about this whole concept of this, bullying, what it is, what it does, what it can create, that kind of we talked about that moral code that sometimes traumatic events can cause people to change, and see that in here. So what were your guys' thoughts about that whole concept, with we're talking about Silver changing and becoming the big bully, but we saw bullying all throughout this episode, or excuse me, this season. So what were your guys' thoughts?
Go ahead.
I think that how do I put it? I'm a high school teacher myself. And so many of the kids in the dojos are students that I would be, teaching myself. And the bullying is just something that, when they give that speech to try to reinstate the All Valley, and the kids are talking about the need for a way to stand up to the bullies and stand up to bullying in a way that is, I don't like to use the word controlled, but yeah, it's kind of controlled, how it's part of a tournament and there's kind of sportsmanship to it and things like that. There's so much of our relationships that we negotiate and navigate with each other. There's so many kinds of power dynamics that can seem to happen that sometimes we're aware of, sometimes we're overtly acting on, sometimes we're not overtly acting on all of them. And sometimes we're just reacting all the time. And it seems like Silver comes in, and once he's decided to be all in, he's the one dominating the idea for power and the idea to be the one in charge and to be the one in control, because that's what he's decided to do now. And everyone else is just a tool for that end. And the bullies, when they were looking to step up and stand up to those kinds of things, whether they're the kids or whether it's Johnny trying to stand up to Kreese or Kreese trying to stand up to Silver or vice versa, there's this sense of desperation, of loss of power, of loss of influence, and the idea that there needs to be some kind of a reorganization of their relationships and their hierarchy with each other to find out who's going to where you're going to come out, so that you're not constantly being victimized.
Yeah. Boy, you got me pondering there. Sorry, you got
sorry.
No, that's good. That's good stuff.
Well, I see the students so much. My own students that I have, I see it so much that there is. I was just a few days ago in class, and I was just listening to some students arguing about sports, and their arguments. They're using words. They're not punching each other or anything else. But there was clearly a negotiation that I'm better. I have these better ideas. I support these better things, and you aren't. And they're constantly trying to fight with each other, kind of, so to speak, through that argument to try to it all boiled down to being accepted as someone who's a peer rather than someone to be dominated. And I see that with the kids so much within Cobra Kai. And they're constantly tired of being kind of pushed around as tools for others. And they want to be tools of their own lives, I guess you could say.
I think within the season of Cobra Kai, one of the things that we saw was just how the domineering aspect, one to dominate one another, is what we see a lot of within Cobra Kai, with the kids and even in the adults. I mean, it's like, haven't you grown out of this?
Well, yeah, you see Daniel, I mean, when this all starts, it seems like Daniel has, moved on with his life, and of course, Miyagi-Do always plays a aspect of his life. It always plays somewhere in his life because it's been such a big influence. But you can tell when it starts, it's in the background. And then all of a sudden, when he sees Johnny's back, that's when, oh, nope, the dojo has to be in the front ground now. And everything is karate at that point. Where Johnny, he starts to see his life as, well, I'm not a success if I don't have the karate. Daniel didn't have that same aspect because Daniel's already been a success, and with his car company and stuff like that. So, but so I just find it interesting how yeah, like you said, the karate aspect just pulls them right back into their childhood or teens or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it's interesting.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just. All right, Steven, go.
Okay. I think it's interesting that the whole aspect of karate is to give people discipline, focus, will, that kind of a thing. But it ain't working so well for them.
Well, I think they do have the discipline and the will, but they just put it in the wrong perspectives.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
What I was going to say was, John, in your thoughts that you had sent us, one of the themes that I really liked that you brought up that I wanted to talk about was the theme of a lack of father and fatherhood, and how that theme seems to be very prevalent through this series, and which I completely agree with. And they're all, every one of them are looking for a role to fill that fatherly role. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And I think even for Johnny, we see Johnny, not having a great father figure kind of a thing. And then, trying to be not having one, but trying to be one, I think has been really interesting within this season as well.
Right.
Steven, did you see Brian's comment?
Yeah.
No, Brian says, speaking of Johnny, he says, Johnny never moved on from the 80s. He's still a man-child, so to speak.
Sometimes I relate to Johnny.
There is that sense where he loves the 80s,
Me too.
The kind of a thing and stuff.
Yeah. When I love it when Miguel comes to him and starts telling him, "Oh, why didn't you tell me about these bands in the 80s?" And he's and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm with Johnny." I always was more the heavy metal guy, It's like, yeah, that's because they weren't cool.
That's pretty funny.
But that's where I identify with Johnny a little bit more than I do Daniel.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. Great comment, Brian. So no, I wanted to go back to the whole father aspect because
Sure.
Danny has Danny's father's missing, obviously. And Johnny's father was a loser and pretty much out of the picture. John Kreese, we don't talk about his father much, but I get the aspect that John had a similar situation with it, with his dad, So yeah, I like how the themes of this is we have a missing father throughout all this, and each one of them is looking for that father figure. So with Daniel, you got it, Miyagi, Mr. Miyagi, of course. He brings in that fatherly advice and everything. With Johnny, it's John Kreese, and granted, it may not be the best fatherly figure, but he's reaching out for that. And I like that aspect of the show because they're just, and they do the same thing through this because like Daniel, he kind of starts taking on Johnny's son and being a father figure to Johnny's son, and then Johnny's being a father figure to Miguel, but then Miguel crosses over to Daniel for parts of the time too. So there's this jealousy aspect between Daniel and Johnny. And yeah, I love those, the great storylines.
Brian says it's very Spielbergian. Hopefully I'm saying that. The lack of or absentee father figure plays a lot in the early Spielberg movies.
Ooh, yeah.
I gotta,
you know,
Brian named one because my brain is having a hard time. Penguin and iceberg moment.
E.T.
Oh,
E.T. There's no father in E.T.
There's no father in E.T.
at all. Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's the biggest Spielberg one that comes to my mind would be E.T. But see,
interesting.
The whole father figure thing, in today's society, the dad has become a joke, honestly. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. You know, especially throughout Disney. Dad is always the bumbling idiot, you know. In this, we have a missing father, but they're looking for somebody to fill that role, and they're not a bumbling idiot, you know. Even Johnny's not a bumbling idiot. He does dumb things, you know. But he makes bad choices, is what it is. It's not that Johnny's an idiot. He just makes bad choices. And I think there's a big difference between that and what we see throughout Disney and just regular television, where they just make the father just a bumbling idiot. You know, I think there's a huge difference in this. And not to mention, we're seeing growth. Johnny's growing as a father. Daniel's growing as a father. So
most definitely. Yeah.
So I think those are great themes that they do this. And Brian did comment.
I got it.
Close Encounters. Right?
Yeah.
His family. That's
true. So
That's
did that start happening when it made the mashed potato Devil's Tower?
This means something. This means something.
John, what are your thoughts?
Oh, most definitely. I agree so much with what Michael was saying earlier. The ghosts of father figures, the father figures who did end up being in their lives, Johnny and Daniel's lives when they were younger, they still haunt them. Johnny had a stepdad. He had a dad. He had a stepdad. His mom's new husband, so to speak, was you know, obviously we see him a few times, played wonderfully in the show. We see him a few times, but you know, he was definitely emotionally very distant and abusive in many ways. Only there to give money, and that's about it. And then Johnny got the validation from Kreese. But we also see that Kreese got something out of that relationship in season 4. You know, Silver hits it on the head. You know, your weakness is Johnny Lawrence, and Kreese knows that. He cannot admit that to himself or anyone else because there cannot be an admission of weakness. Daniel, you know, of course,
that's great insight right there, John. That was good. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And Daniel with Miyagi. I mean, Miyagi just, you know, it just haunts the show so much everywhere all the time, because he did so much for Daniel at such a crucial point in Daniel's life, that he helped give him the lessons and discipline and that kind of male authority that he was hungering for and that he was needing very deeply. And he, with the loss of Miyagi, he's kind of, it's almost when the show picks up, you know, 30 some odd years later in seasons 1 and 2, is that Daniel is just kind of going on those fumes almost. And you see him growing. And as y'all said earlier, he's growing as a father himself. He's becoming more in tune with Miyagi, but he's seeing examples around him, his own experiences with Miguel and Robbie, and his own children with Amanda and his son. And he goes from this kind of permissive, absent, kind of loose-handed kind of father and disciplinary approach to becoming a much more, I mean, in season 4, what is it when he's finally breaks his son's tablet and he does the Johnny Lawrence quiet, and I'm just like, oh man, Daniel is now becoming a much more active father in his son's life, and giving his son what his son has obviously been acting out and desperately needs as well.
Yeah, right. And he's completely overlooking his son through all that too, because he doesn't see that his son is completely becoming the bully.
Right.
Oh, it killed me. It killed me.
Yeah.
And when they introduced the other kid, that Johnny's son ends up training, I am bad with the name. Sorry. When they introduced him and Daniel's son became the bully to him, I told Brenda right away, I go, that kid's Cobra Kai. And she's like, no. I go, yeah, that kid, he's going to become Cobra Kai because he's everything that Cobra Kai preys on. They're looking for that kid who's being picked on, but has major potential. And I knew right away, I'm like, yep, he's Cobra Kai. He's going to join their dojo. And sure enough, he did.
What did you think of the whole melding of the Cobra Kai Miyagi-Do styles?
The styles, melding the styles is a good idea, but the problem is Johnny and Daniel can't come together and decide on training. That's the problem.
Their rivalry. I mean, my son and I, for all the episodes we kept watching all the time and their interactions, I mean, these guys obviously should be best friends. These guys obviously should be the bestest friends, doing anything and everything together and hanging out. And their rivalries from their past they're so enslaved to that rivalry that it's controlling them so much to where they can't obviously see past the point where they need to. Yeah, their uneasy alliance should have been a very friendly alliance.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Yep. Yep. Brian says that kid who was that kid who was bullied is an amazing actor. Disney Sony should snap him up to be Miles Morales.
That's a great comment, Brian. I love it.
Wow.
Oh, Disney, if you're listening.
Yeah. Jeff agrees completely. Jeff says, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff. I would say that that was the one part of the story that also got me just the angst of it, the tension of it. I just couldn't. I really struggled with. And here's this kid who's getting bullied, and then the bully, which Daniel LaRusso's son, was trying to say sorry for at the end, and man, he pummeled him. I thought he is a good actor. The bully becomes the bully, and
because he does become the bully after a while. Which is just wild because you see it just completely flip on end. Where Daniel's son all of a sudden is like, this is wrong. These are the things that my dad has fought against. Okay, I need to back off this kid and I need to be friendly to him. And it just doesn't work anymore because this kid's already been so damaged by him that all the kid sees is rage. As somebody who got bullied in high school, I understand that. I get it. But there is a side of me that's like, look, he's trying to make up for his mistakes, and you're not allowing him. So at some point you got to allow grace,
Right.
Yep. Here's another comment from I'm going to mispronounce this, but Sage Page Omega.
Great name, by the way.
I like it. I like it. He goes, I feel they don't need to really come together, as where Robbie has proven and is now the gateway needed to lead to the new style of Cobra Miyagi Dojo into the new era. Hey, that's interesting.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah, Robbie, that kid's a good actor too. He reminds me the guy on Topanga New Kids
Oh.
World. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I know I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can be the vessel needed to channel both their teachings and showcase that for all the other students. Yeah. I think the next season 5 will be interesting with him as that character. As you know, it was really neat to see him in the way they were fighting at the end of the tournament. The big Zig, Boy Meets World.
Yeah,
Thank
Boy Meets
you. Thanks, Zig. So yeah,
I'm surprised it wasn't Brian with that save, by the way.
Right? Brian's usually right on it.
Brian's usually the one chiming in and saving my butt on a lot of things. So
yeah. Well, now we got Zig in the chat, so Zig's
right.
gonna do. Hey, just a quick shout out. Everybody sees in the chat, Jeff and Zig. They are from Nerdery and Murdery, and we just finished a great crossover event with them. So if you haven't checked them out, please do.
Definitely.
And all.
Jeff and Brian's from Three Geeky Dads, by the way.
Yes. Yep. Check out Brian's.
Zig knows all geekdom. I bowed to your now, Zig.
Oh, here's Brian. I was getting more coffee. I was yelling it for the
That's funny.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Awesome. Oh yeah, Brian from Three Geeky Dads. We're hoping to I'm hoping we can get a crossover with them too. So
yeah, we'll talk with them soon.
Yep. All right. So I'm sorry. Penguin fell off the iceberg for me. I got distracted. Where were we? Squirrel.
Yeah, no kidding. I lost track too. Anyway,
we were looking ahead into season 5 and what we think is going to happen with Robbie and the other kids.
Yeah.
So do you think Robbie is going to come over to Miyagi / Eagle Fang?
How shall I say this? I think he's just on his own. You know what I mean? He's. I like the concept that Sage Page Omega brought up, was that new era, kind of transition and bring them together. I did love the fact that he went to his dad. I love that last episode at the end, and I thought, oh, that's a great touching moment.
And that's why I question, is he going to end up coming back to Miyagi-Do then?
I think coming back to his dad, he's going to support his dad with Eagle Fang.
You mean with Miyagi-Do? Robbie's. Am I getting my characters confused?
Yeah, Robbie was actually here's the thing. I could be confused too because I'm getting older. Robbie was being taught Miyagi-Do, but ended up being was Johnny Lawrence's son. And so at the end of the season, he went back to his dad saying that he had made mistakes and that kind of a thing and stuff. But here's what Jeff says, and I think this ties into our conversation, is Jeff says Chosen in season 5 is going to be awesome.
Yes.
I think that's just going to be phenomenal. And that's because when they lost the tournament, wasn't it? They lost the tournament, so they couldn't do, they weren't allowed to teach in the Valley or whatever. They made some kind of stupid bet,
Yeah.
Here's what Brian says. Likely any Toho. I'm trying to think. Where two monsters have to team up to bring down a bigger baddie. Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang need to combine to bring down Cobra Kai.
Well, and I think we're moving into that, definitely.
Yeah.
Because they started that with the end of season 4, and then everything fell apart. So then they decided, oh no, we're going to take them on separately. And, and I'm wondering, with the silly bet they had, I'm wondering what's going to happen is, or I think what might happen is you might see Miyagi-Do, Eagle Fang come together as a brand new dojo, a whole new name, because they had that problem too. Oh, do we call us Miyagi-Do or do we call us Eagle Fang? So they had that problem because neither one could give that up.
Miyagi Fang. Whoa!
Miyagi. No, I think we're gonna get a whole new named dojo, something totally different. That suits the two of them.
And do you think it's going to be Chosen who's going to be teaching? Because Jeff said, yeah, because Chosen can teach.
Yeah.
So
I think it will be through Chosen. After Daniel went to Okinawa, was it season 3? And he got the new lessons from Chosen, and his turning to Chosen again at the end of season 4, I think is great because Chosen doesn't have that baggage. He doesn't have those rivalries. Chosen is going to be someone who can bring them all under and teach them all without this, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. No, I had this in the past. No, you had that in the past. That kind of stuff is not dominating Chosen's life the way it has been for Daniel and Johnny.
Well, Daniel, Johnny, Silver,
and Kreese,
yeah, everybody.
Yeah,
you're
can we just
absolutely
say,
right.
I'm going to agree with Brian. And can we just all say that whatever that's going to be for now, we can just call it Miyagi Fang? That's what I was calling it too. Jeff says Chosen will finally unite Johnny and Daniel because the Sato teachings, both sides, offense
and defense.
Right. I totally agree with that. And Daniel used that move on Johnny during this season too. When the two of them fought, he actually used that.
That's
move.
right. He's like,
what
the? Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny was like, what was that? That's not Miyagi-Do.
Yep.
No, it's Miyagi Fang.
Nice.
Yep. Oh gosh, Brian says, "Well said, Jeff." On Johnny or Chosen will unite them. I hope so. I think that's what I was really looking forward to at the beginning of season 4 was the two to come together, and that lasted maybe 2 episodes. Like Dad, come it. I wanted to see them come together.
Well, I think we will finally see that in season 5. That's
I hope so. Yeah, I think it's time for it. You know what I mean? It's time to.
I think that's going to be their way of getting around the bet. Because then they create this brand new dojo with a total new name, and they could be like, "Well, we're not Miyagi-Do, we're not Eagle Fang, so yeah, so now we can teach." That's how I think they're going to get around the bet.
Do y'all think we're going to see the exposure of Terry Silver's fixing the tournament?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
because Tori witnessed that.
Right.
Yeah, boy, she was mad. She was so mad because here she was, her character thinking she finally achieved something on her own.
Yep.
And then to see that he paid off the judge, I was like, or the ref, excuse me.
Yeah, the
ref.
I think we're in season 5. We're gonna see Tori and Daniel's daughter,
Amanda.
I think we're gonna see them finally come together and put their past behind them, and I think Tori's probably gonna end up joining Miyagi Fang. Miyagi.
But who are they?
That just sounds so weird,
right? They'll probably expose it and say we're going to have to do another. They're going to have to make another. What's the word? Another villain that they're going to have to fight. Another kid villain they're going to have to fight. And I hope not. I hope it's not the future Miles Morales kid. We'll call him that.
Oh my gosh! Did you see this comment from Jeff? Use Soto's name. Make it.
Name.
Yeah, say that.
Right, Taguchi
Dojo. Nice.
Right here. Let me test something real quick. Let's see what this looks like. New comments will be displayed. Hey, bro, we've got a rolling chat overlay, so I guess it doesn't do the old comments. But anyway, Brian says Eagle Doe.
Eagle Doe, Eagle Do, Eagle.
No, and then Zig says, yes.
Yes.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that yes is to go with Jeff's Toguchi Dojo,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and also
I kind of like Eagle Doe.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't think Daniel would like that because there's no Miyagi in there whatsoever. So
right.
anyway,
No, I think Jeff's onto something that with Sato, or with Chosen coming under Sato's style. Man, that's so interesting. I'm excited to see that. I totally forgot about the offense and defense
Mhm.
nature of it all.
right? Yeah, because Miyagi Do has always been on the defense, and
Yes.
Cobra Kai is always on the offense. So,
Yes.
but we did see Cobra Kai was using Miyagi Do
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
because they started incorporating Miyagi Do, and actually, I think they were doing better with it than what Daniel and Johnny were doing. But that's
Mhm.
because they had a cohesive training,
Right.
which is where I said
Mhm.
that Johnny and Daniel went wrong because they couldn't come up with a cohesive training for both styles, where John Kreese and his team, they did. They were like,
Mhm.
look, this is how you incorporate Miyagi Do into our style. And
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
basically they did turn it into an offense, more or less. So
They sure did. They sure, yeah. I did like that last, the whole tournament and seeing how they were using styles in the tournament and coming back. I thought was really good and really interesting.
oh,
Um,
and we got a Star Wars reference, which
Yes.
was awesome because he's like, he went all dark side.
Yeah. High ground. Yeah.
Right. And we got Obi-Wan defeated Anakin because Obi-Wan had the high ground. I love that. That was
right,
so cool.
right. Jeff he says, who thought that Daniel was going to do the Miyagi healing on Miguel's back? Surprised we didn't see that. Agreed.
Yeah.
The grabbing the hands and,
Didn't he do that though? Somewhere?
Uh,
He started to do it for something.
And then he
There was,
stopped.
huh?
And then he was like, "Oh, I don't have anything else." Yeah.
Right. I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was though. He started it, but I don't remember what the context of that was.
yeah, but I did think
It
something was
was
going to
just
happen.
it was a humorous moment, and
Right.
Right.
and a
Right.
callback to the originals.
Right.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, he yelled for a medic then. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. So he was going to do it, and then he realized, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right. Right.
Let's bring in a real medic.
There's that. Zig said that he didn't yell for a medic. So yeah. Oh my
funny.
goodness, great interactions and stuff. So yeah. What else are we missing about this season that we were going to talk about? I do know that I was surprised. We briefly mentioned about Terry Silver and that switch from the timid into you're awakening the dark side of me. And then when it happens, and that was the moment where we get to see the one character come back. Oh, what was his name? He was so funny. The rich guy with the beard, and he threw the party at his house, or something like that.
Oh, Stingray.
Stingray, yeah,
Yeah.
Stingray. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then when Terry Silver
Oh, the one that was in Cobra Kai
Yeah.
and wanted to come back, and
Uh-huh.
and Terry's like, no, you're not Cobra Kai material. Get out. And
Yeah. He
Right.
starts
And then-
pounding on him, just pounding.
Oh
I
my
thought he was
God.
going to actually kill him. I thought
I did
that
too.
was going to happen.
I
It
did
was
too.
that
That was
dark.
gruesome.
It was
Dark
dark.
moment.
Yeah.
And then we get the big thing at the end where he says, "Who did this to you?" And what does he say?
Crease.
Crease.
Yeah.
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 Jeffrey called him Stinkray. Yeah, I think that was brought up by his neighbor or something like that.
Oh gosh. Brian says that with Hawk, doing a total 180 from being the bully to getting bullied himself was so refreshing.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad for Hawk though, because I really like Hawk a lot. You know,
Right.
I mean, I even liked him as a bad guy, but
Mhm.
and I think I like him even better now that he's come back over to the light side, to use a Star Wars analogy.
Right.
But I felt sorry for Hawk. It's like, because Hawk went through the bullying himself, and then he became the bully, and which was horrible. And it
Mhm.
was like, oh man, I felt sorry for him.
I feel sorry for him in a way, but it's almost like he had to go through that. That was his only way to get
Sure.
down from that ledge. Like it's almost like he couldn't. His hand had to be forced to change, because he had to have some excuse to have a break, rather than just walk away or whatever.
Oh, okay, this was a great comment too from Brian. Me too. That's what I meant. He re-embraced his inner
Yeah,
D&D geek.
indeed.
I love it. That's awesome.
Right.
I like how
I like how this is from Sage Page Omega. I like how Mr. Miyagi's biggest lesson or quotes of balance is finally being released by everyone, and merging of the two dojo makes the balance real for everyone.
Mhm.
well said.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you one thing. Something that kind of annoyed me about the first 3 seasons of this. In the first 3 seasons, in the season finale, there's always this huge, ridiculous, unrealistic fight. You know, like the fight in the school. I'm like, come on, no school would actually let that happen. Now, John, you're a teacher. Could you see that actually happening in your school?
Not
Don't
that
answer
far.
that on the grounds it may incriminate you.
Not that far. Not that far. I've broken up my share of fights, and nothing's ever gotten that far. Obviously, they did a lot of artistic license with that. I
Right.
mean, they did bring up when they talked about it with the meetings afterwards, and the community's like, what's going on? And there's these violations and there's rules. Yeah, there are some of those things that I'm not allowed to do when I'm getting involved with the kids, who are actually fighting. But most of us teachers are trained in such a way as to, we know how to, just put it this way, we know how to break up the fight without breaking those rules.
Right,
Mm.
exactly. And I was just like, oh come on, this here is the most unrealistic thing in the whole series.
Right. It would have
So
been much more realistic if they took it across the street or something off the school grounds.
right.
Yeah.
I agreed. Totally agree. But to happen right in the school, and granted, yes, I know they needed the second um floor because
Mhm.
Miguel falls, and we get all that. I get it. I understand the purpose. I just think it was, I don't know. I just thought it was a little silly.
Mhm.
So I was refreshed at the end of this that we didn't have quite. I mean, we had a fairly big fight because we had the pool scene,
Mhm.
but it wasn't anything like the school fight.
Right.
Nothing like that.
Right.
So I was refreshed with that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a huge improvement.
What did you think about the house fight? Was that realistic or not?
Oh, I thought it was ridiculous too.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, that many people destroying the house, and then Daniel and his wife come home and they're upset. But I mean, as badly as they destroyed the house, I would have been coming apart.
Mhm.
There would have been parents on the phone. There would have been police involved. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that was so ridiculous and
Yeah.
unrealistic too. So.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's Cobra Kai and it's all unrealistic.
I know. It's all for fun. I get it. It's those, like I said, the fights, the big fights, the big dramatic season finale fights, I just thought was just completely, totally ridiculous.
Except for
like,
season 4.
yeah, season 4 was good.
Because it was taking place at the All Valley tournament.
All valid.
Right. Well, and again, we did have the moment at the pool,
Yeah.
and I thought that was good. Because it had the potential of being that big fight again,
Mhm.
and then they all calmed down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can take this. This is good. And then, like you said, they took everything out in the tournament,
Mhm.
and I thought that was so much better.
Yep.
So much more betterer, by the way.
Much more better. Where's my drink? Time to drink.
I got it in.
Funny. That's funny. So, I guess, because we're already an hour in, and I got to think we got to start wrapping up here for this part of our episode. What else? John? Were there anything else that you wanted to bring up and talk about in this episode, or excuse me, in this season? Man, I keep saying episode. I'm sorry, my brain is because we just did our Boba Fett episode.
Right.
And I keep thinking, episode, but the season of Cobra Kai.
I think, and it's a part of this season, but it's a part of the whole show too. Is the music. The music has really been a character of its own, and and I've talked with Michael about it too. It's like the licensed music is great to hear and it's fun, and they're incorporating that in great ways. But just the composers, I've been listening to the soundtrack so much over the past few weeks, and the kind of themes that they've developed for, the themes for Daniel are generally kind of classical and soft and kind of mellow and trying to find that balance. There's a little bit of those Eastern influences that Daniel has always had from Miyagi-Do. And Johnny has that rough edge to his music, and it's very much of that kind of 80s pop metal and that kind of edge to it, that's a little bit harsher. But even that, as their characters have grown a lot more and matured and changed a lot in season 4, even those themes are kind of becoming a little bit different. I could definitely hear some of formerly Johnny's type of music coming into Daniel's background when his character is on screen more in season 4, and even Johnny, he's getting some of his cues and his musical cues and themes are becoming a lot less. In some instances, not completely, of course, but in some instances, they're becoming a lot less harsh and a little bit more softened.
Agreed. Music plays such an important part in both film and television. Yeah. And I mean, like the last episode of Boba Fett is proof of that, because we have those moments with Luke Skywalker and all right, spoiler. Anyway, so we have that moment. We have the moments with Luke and Grogu, and we get the Yoda theme playing in the background. And I was sitting there going, "Oh, it's the Yoda theme, and it's so perfect for this scene." So, I mean, it's the same way. You start hearing those themes of Daniel in the original films and getting those callbacks to the original films. So, yeah, music is so important throughout this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely. Brian says I'll have to pay more attention to the music in Cobra Kai. Agreed. I was just thinking I need to pull up my Spotify playlist and add the Cobra Kai music and stuff for that.
It's really good.
And as we were talking spoilers, and it was like,
sorry, Tammy. Well, Boba Fett was on Wednesday, so
yeah, true.
Oh man, Mike, any last thoughts or anything else? John, any last parting wisdom?
I think that a lot of Cobra Kai, the unexpected, just the unexpected pop culture impact it's also having, is kind of speaking to a zeitgeist of our times in some ways. And we talked about some of the larger themes of, your past and the way the past can control you and how you can try to break free from that, to fatherlessness and looking for the authentically good male father role models, to these kinds of things that are there that are kind of so timeless, and it's just really hitting so much of our culture. My son is in middle school, and he just talks. It's the talk of the whole school, and it's everything that they talk about. They wear the shirts, they have the licensed material. It really is a phenomenon that I think is going to. I'm looking forward to what they're doing in season 5 and beyond. I know that the creators have at least, I think, through season 6 mapped out, and I really I'm looking forward to how they're incorporating the past while making it new. And it's not stuck so much in nostalgia. I was talking with my wife a little bit about it, that Stranger Things was so steeped in nostalgia that its impact on the culture was so much more brief, it seemed like. And Cobra Kai is trying to take that nostalgia and be relevant in our modern times, but in a way that feels natural and not necessarily so forced. And that these are, you can look at these people, and I've told y'all before, I can see relatives that have lived their lives in these characters, and I can see those choices, and I can see those things that look so authentic to how it's being lived out. And so these characters become people that, you know, become almost part of your family, that you're inviting into your living room, and you want to continue to see what happens with them.
Yeah, and that's the that's the I'm struggling for the word. That's how you make a good show. You know, I've talked about before in the past, like with Walking Dead. There are characters in The Walking Dead that I absolutely love, and you know, it kills me if they get killed, you know, and that kind of thing. And then when Fear of the Walking Dead came out, I could care less about any of those characters. So anytime somebody died, I was like, whatever, you know. And I see what you're saying with Cobra Kai. I care for a lot of these characters, a whole lot of, on both sides of the fence, you know. Whether they're good guys or bad guys, there's things about them that I care about each of them. So I completely get that aspect. I think you're totally right there. Now, Stranger Things, you're trampling on a show I love.
That was a good show. I didn't want to say that. I think that its larger impact, though, has been different.
I agree with you. You're right. And the way you said it, I was like, yeah, I guess you're right, because Stranger Things, I'm just sitting here going, okay, what cool 80s reference am I gonna get in that? You know?
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But that's just me being nostalgic, you know. And I think it's a fun. I think it's a really fun story too. I really like it. But I see what you're saying with Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai, the 80s references are there, and sometimes they're in your face a little bit, you know, but there's a good blend, you know, with modern culture and blending that into it. I see what you're saying with what you're saying with that.
Let me share what Brian stated. Brian stated that everything old comes back around again. I know.
That means,
but when
Steven, you and I are going to be relevant again soon. I didn't want to say that about John. I wanted to be kind.
Yep. But remember how you're talking about you care about the characters, and Zig brings up this phrase that we brought up that really was striking to me and has stuck with me, is plot in service of character.
Yep, Zig mentioned that in our episode with
crossover
them
in both episodes. And so, you know, there is something to be said about Cobra Kai is really a character-driven film that's using the best plot items from the movies and bringing them again back around again with that tension, but really focusing on the character development. I mean, did either one of you kind of feel a twinge of sadness for Kreese when he got arrested by Silver?
Definitely.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
You know, because Kreese, I don't think. I mean, Kreese is bad. Let's face it. He's a bad guy. There's no two guesses about that. But man, compared to Silver, he's not as bad as we made him out to be.
Right.
Silver's one bad dude.
There's always a bigger fish.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yep. Yep. To quote Qui-Gon, there's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. That's funny.
Cobra fish.
Yep. All right. Well, we are running at 1:15, so it is time to, you know, wrap things up. John, thank you so much for being with us on this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I loved your insight in this. Thank you. Loved your insight.
Well, when you sent us the email, you sent us a nice long email on your insights on the show, and Steven and I talked, and we're like, yeah, we got to get John on. This
thanks. I appreciate it. I'm just as surprised as y'all about how it's become such a larger part of the zeitgeist in our culture, and how much it has lived with me so much. I thought it was just going to be a fun show to watch, and it's as if we've been talking about for the past hour or so, is that it's become a part of, how we're looking at life itself sometimes.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who would have ever thought Karate Kid would turn into that?
Right. Exactly.
Wax on, wax off.
Very
Amazing.
true. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us here for another episode of Two Geeks and a Microphone. Today we had 3 geeks and microphone.
Yes.
Please check out our website. It's 2 geeksmic.com, 2 geeksmic.com. That's our hub where you can get to everything, our merch page, our Ko-fi page. Ko-fi is like Patreon. And so they have just changed their system to a membership kind of system. So we did that, and we've put in some little bonuses that we are creating. If you support us, now all that money goes to pay for Mike's Lamborghini. And so that's what that's for. No, I'm just teasing. It actually
Dude,
pays
I'm
for
glad I didn't have that Lamborghini this week. It
with the
would have
snow.
never made it through the snow and ice.
You wouldn't have gotten out of the driveway.
Dude, I had enough trouble with my Toyota and my daughter's Dodge Charger. So, my gosh, there's no way a Lamborghini would have went through this crap.
Yeah. Well, no, we appreciate the support. We use that money actually to pay for Restream and our podcasting service and stuff like that. So it's all to put in so we can do this. So thank you for helping us with that. We do appreciate it sincerely. The other thing that we appreciate, everybody, is as we have gone to Restream, we are getting great interactions and comments, and we are loving it. So thank you so much for interacting with us. Thanks for putting the comments. We're still testing things out. There's that little chat overlay we may start using. We're still learning this, how all this works and stuff. And so thanks for your patience with us, but thanks for interacting, because that has really kicked these our sessions and our podcast and our show up a notch. So thank you so much. All right, Mike, I'm going to leave it out to you to say any final words or comments and then sign us out.
Well, final comments. I love Cobra Kai. I think it's a fantastic show. I would highly recommend, if you have not watched it, watch this show. It's incredible. And don't think you have to be tied to the Karate Kid movies in order to enjoy it. I honestly only remember watching the first Karate Kid movie, and they have so many flashbacks and stuff and memories back to the originals that you really don't have to watch the originals. Not saying that don't watch them. If you want to watch them, definitely go back and watch them. But yeah, absolutely loved it. I love the stuff that we covered in this episode. Some of the themes of bullying and searching for a father figure and so on and so forth. I really love those thoughts and ideas that are coming up in this show. So that's my thoughts on Cobra Kai. Make sure and check out our crossover event that we had with Nerdery and Murdery. Part 1 was on their podcast, and part 2 was on ours. And then, of course, we do have video podcast. One, it went up on Wednesday, or no, Thursday.
And 2 went up. 2 went up while we were doing the show.
Right, and 2 went up while we were doing this show. So make sure and check those out. And
yeah, we talk about Firefly and Serenity on the Nerdery side.
Yes. And we'll leave the Murdery side for you to go listen to it and hear what that's about. And apparently look for a upcoming crossover with 3 Geeky Dads, because I think that's going to happen. we just gotta finalize it. And I know Brian's probably giving us a thumbs up with that. So with that said, thank you for tuning in. Oh, and tune in just a little bit. We'll be doing Jango Fett discussion for our Star Wars podcast day.
Yes,
Star Wars podcast day is coming up. So
yeah, for those that join us on those that join us on live, you get a special preview of the podcast that's going to launch for National Star Wars Podcast Day.
Right. So just give us a few minutes break between this and that, and come back and join us for Jango Fett. With that said, I'm going to close this out. Over and out, and may the Force be with you. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,